this is thumbnail lesson number 2, and I have tried to select and shortlisted these 3 thumbnails that I think we could have pushed it to the finishing. So for now, I am going to give a further boost of detailing to the 3 thumbnails. At this point, it's going to be a little slightly more technical because this is where you solve problems, and it's where many things would be tougher. This is why you want to think about, okay, what is the character doing? How is his hand posed? How is his leg? Or how big is the wing? And you have to sort of be more specific. Probably can also draw out the face, the proportion of the horns. You might need references or a pose for now, because our character is wearing very tight-fitting clothes. So I'm not too worried about referencing her. I can just reference although that is more that's closer to the gesture and the poses that I'm trying to work on, trying to move forward. So this 2 is definitely the closest reference now. Of course, I totally encourage you guys to find more references as you go along, because having more references wouldn't hurt. It will definitely speed up your process instead of trying to trial and error too many times. Okay, at this point, you can stop being too rough, and I will be trying to. I will put a white over the thumbnail that I draw, so that I can draw a new path. Right now, I will work with a round brush. So any round brush would do. You can use the one without pressure if you are more confident with your strokes. Generally, with a round brush. So the setting of the brush would be a little bit of hardness, 82%, nice spacing, pressure on, or both, opacity and flow jitter, size, pressure. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So I really love the press part of this reference that we are using. So since that is also almost the focal point, we should focus on making this part look really, really good, right? Let's continue with the process. Okay, right now, I will do a proper construction on my character. For Go, generally when they do selfie like that, they would actually tilt down their head a little bit to show that the chin is sharper. So that is also a trick that in modern days, like, so this is something we can definitely apply to our drawing. Yeah, we generally want to draw a girl face downward so that their face will sharper. Probably draw the rib cage first. Breast tend to back a little bit. So if this is the collar bone, the breast is the chest muscle is connected underneath the deltoid. The breast tube I just now. That's why a second pass or maybe even a third pass is definitely recommended. Do not try to save your sketch. It's sometimes easier to redraw the whole thing for a more accurate path. And do not worry about spending too much time. In fact, you will probably save more time drawing the right stroke on top of the draft that you are tracing than erasing and draw a better stroke, right? Because right now, if you have your reference, it's easier for you to read what you were originally intended than erasing the part and then redrawing it again. That way, you might misguide yourself again because you have to erase the line and redraw it again. Yeah, and it's also cleaner and for yourself to work, and it's also probably cleaner if you work with other clients and other artists, and they have to look at your line work in order to proceed to the next stage of the drawing. It's definitely important to learn how to draft thinner. For hands, right, it's important for you to draw the palm first. So if you want to put the hand here, it's totally recommended for you to draft out. Then worry about the connection between the hand, the elbow later on. This way, it's easier for you to draw a proper hand. And because her hand is coming the front, maybe this hand is coming too much the front. As in, it's too straight, right? We could have changed the hand to a little bit like that. And this way, there won't be too many vertical line that you actually you try to. I would definitely try to avoid vertical line in a landscape piece, because sometimes that would distract the entire painting, especially in the middle. If you draw a line that cuts your painting like that, it will destroy the flow. And normally if you want to draw like vertical line, it's either here towards the end. So I try to not have very straight vertical line in my drawing, especially to the middle in a landscape. And the hand is coming towards the front, so there will be foreshortening to this hand. If the breast is too big, there will be some squeezing going on around of the hand. So important to find references like that. I know how to draw fat squeeze better. Please try to use as much reference as you can. Yeah, reference will only save you more time. And then right now, we can already decide on the legs, right? Because we have already settled our focal point. One is probably drawn on back end. So when she turns to the left a little bit, we actually see the foreshortening of the horn as well. I do not want to think of the wings at this point, because the wing is the secondary, and I want to think of her pose. I think the pose is more important at this point. I mean, there are times where the wing would act as a composition, but at this point, I would want to try to do her pose first and not worry too much about the secondary detail like the wing. Because in this one, we know that the pose will be more important than the wing itself. Also, I would want to reference for the legs. In fact, if you still want to change after the thumbnail has been done, it's totally fine as well. Like, not advisable to, because it will just cause you to redo a lot of things, and that costs time. But yeah, sometimes it just have to happen. So yeah, try to draft as perfect as possible so that you will not need to redraft it in at a later stage. This leg is definitely not working. Yeah, there's another thing that is very difficult to explain, which is focal length on the camera. So if you are familiar with camera, there are different kind of lens. If you want the higher aperture kind of lens, it will definitely look more pop versus lower number focal length of the. So therefore, having known about lens, you can try to warp the certain part of the body, big or small, as long as the distance is relative, based on the distance that is relevant to character. So the chest will be nearer to right now. The head is the nearest to us, so it will be the biggest, and then the chest will be slightly smaller, and then the butt will be slightly smaller, and then the legs, right? And sometimes when I cannot figure out a perspective, I would draw the pass through. I would draw the construction of the X-ray on which where the other leg would go. This is definitely a time where you want to be precise, because once after this stage, you will be going into rendering, and if you have to fix things afterward, it's going to take a lot of time. So better to be precise at this point of time. We can probably play with the wings right now because we have already drafted one. So the wing comes out slightly above the, and then because of perspective, tip of the wing is pointing outwards instead of in. Or the leg is probably not as important because the wing could sort of overshadow, which is also another way to hide the least important. And also, like, we can check as well. How does it look without the. And right now we can probably draw how to have. We definitely need a reference for the legs. What if she tilts her butt, twists her pelvis to the other direction, so we see her legs like that? Will that work? Right. So there's definitely some liberty here that we can try. Maybe we can twist her hip a little bit. Then we are going to do a third pass of construction to make sure that everything we do is kind of accurate. Since I already draw the green line construction, I would probably try to match the green line because the green line is much more accurate. And the curves of the green line looks better as well. Right now, it's just figuring out all the correct contour line. It's also good for you to draw a contour line like that, so you understand. So you understand, right, how the hand is curving. You will not mess up the form when you draw details later on. And at this point, we can definitely start doing a little bit of detail, be it adding colors, adding the strap of the bra. And of course, at this point, I wouldn't worry about the very specific detail. For example, like if I were to draw the breast in detail, I would have like the fat squeezing right here. And then the other fats, like the fat squeezing into the bra. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about this because that will be done when if I pick this as the final. Since we have two more thumbnails, being accurate is more important. Fixing that proportion would be more important than doing a tiny detail like that. So at the end of the day, I still try to zoom out and fix as many issues as I can that we have not zoomed in at this point. Maybe we can give a face. A face is always the selling point. So blocking in a nice face would definitely not be a problem to try out at this point. And as for face, right now I'm just referencing my character. And for expression, definitely look out for reference. Yeah, when I'm blocking in the eye, I would not worry about the gloss in the eyes. I wouldn't worry about those things at this point because as long as you give enough shadow or enough line weight to the eyes and the eyebrow, sometimes you don't even need to draw the nose, right? She will look good enough for a face. And right now, of course, there are some things that has a little bit of conflict of interest. Okay, right now she's not looking at us, so that is a problem. So we want the eye to look at us. That's what we are selling. We are selling her expression. And we can beautify the face later on. So far, we just have to plot in the expression. Because there's a lot of foreshortening, some lines might be too confusing. So it's also important for you to erase or reduce the line that are showing details rather than outline. So I erase all the details away from the wing so that I can push out just the silhouette of the wing. Perhaps we can try to bend the wing the other way around, as if the wing comes from here, the wing might fold it in this way. This way we can focus on the nice curve of the butt. For the other thing, pretty sure is going to start from here. We can make a new layer. We can make a new layer to draw X-ray vision and then erase away. We can cheat a little bit just to make it look compositionally better. I still feel that the leg is not showing a very nice foreshortening. Yeah, the leg is, it feels like it's a little bit more profile than going to the back. So at this stage, I think this will be the most tedious stage for throughout the entire process of the drawing, because this is the stage where you have to decide the actual content of the piece itself. So definitely spend as much time as you want on getting the pose right, getting the perspective, the forms, the design, the composition right. Getting everything down at this stage is the most crucial. Yeah, and then once this stage is solved, then the only problem you will have is lighting and probably colors and detailing. Yeah, so if you solve everything at this stage, you don't have to change anything in the future. So right now, even for the curve of the horn would be a challenge for me to solve. But I have to solve it at this stage because it will come and haunt me later on if I don't solve it now. Yeah, and also since I'm still picking, I'm still trying to pick the best thumbnails. It's important for this thumbnail to also look good because it has to convince me. If it's not going to convince me, it has to convince the client, right? Yeah, the client would never know. If there's a client, the client would never know how it looks, how well it looks at the finishing. So at this stage, the thumbnail is the only one that's going to sell itself. So if it doesn't look good to you, you probably will also not pick it. Yeah, and the three thumbnail that I pick, I feel that they all have potential. So I'm going to give them I'm going to put more extra effort on making them look equally good. Maybe this curve is not as good. Curving outward. Because this curve is curving the entire composition. This way, it's neither conflicting or too overbearing. We can have some hair overlapping the butt so that we can create some levels of depth. And then we can have the hair flow like that. This way, we know that she's flying sky or taking this screenshot. Oh, sorry, the selfie. And right now, I think we can push the breast a little bit lower. Right now, the breast feels like being lifted to the front instead of being pushed down by gravity. since the breast is going below the arm, so there won't be any squeeze here anymore. So yeah, as I draw the forms, I am constantly thinking about all this problem solving. Yeah, the more problem you solve at this point is going to make the piece less having less mistakes. The more realistic feature you can solve equals to less problem you will solve, less problem you will face ahead. So I feel that if the foreshortening is not strong enough, viewer will not understand what's happening, or the picture will not look as dynamic. And then right now we can shift her to find better composition. As I said before, the character itself have to be able to be the composition. So it is very important to have very strong and nice silhouette. Okay, I think this is good enough for the first composition. So I will end the thumbnail number 2, the thumbnail number lesson number 3 here. We will proceed to the next one.